I'm going to read chapter 6 in Pulling Together. New Wood. In the following weeks, John Briggs and Luke took down the blackened boards. They hauled away loads of charred wood. They sifted through ashes and saved pieces of metal. Matthew took the pieces and cleaned them with a rasp. Some hinges cleaned easily. Latches did not, and the head of the hoe took him a whole morning. The bad wood was finally cleared away. Next morning, John Briggs hitched his team. John Briggs and Addie rode in the seat. Luke and Matthew rode in the back. All the way to town, Matthew watched the horses. He felt guilty somehow. Dolly had to work, but soon she would be sold. It didn't seem fair. John Briggs stopped at the sawmill just on the edge of town. He went in and was gone a long time. "Mama," said Matthew. "Yes? How long till we don't have Dolly anymore?" Addie thought, "I expect we can keep her until it turns too cold for grazing." Matthew sat back against the wagon. It had been cold several mornings already. A sign hung on the side of the mill office. Matthew knew what it said. It was like the signs on the store and the smithy. "Mama, do you think we'll go to the fair?" Addie said, "I don't know, son." John Briggs came back to the wagon and climbed in. "I got a good deal on the lumber," he said. "Murphy's going to let me trade some of my own timber." He picked up the lines and clicked his tongue. School began. Matthew went every day. Luke went when he could. On the days he went alone, Matthew worked on his puzzle, but he put it in his pocket at the school gate. Sometimes when Matthew came home, Luke and his father were still working in the woods. Then he would walk up the hill and into the woods. He listened for the steady whacking of an axe against a tree. He walked toward the sound. "Papa!" The whacking stopped. "Papa!" "Over here, son. Come on." Matthew followed his father's voice. He came at last to the place. "Stand behind me a ways," said John Briggs. The man swung his axe again. The edge bit into the tree. He worked it free and brought it around by his shoulder again. Back it went toward the tree again. Thwack! And the leaves shuddered overhead. Ben and Dolly stood off to the left. They swished their tails at the last of the summer flies. Matthew moved around to stand beside them. He ran his hand over the traces of Dolly's side. They fell smoothly down to the single tree. "Good horse," he said, and patted her. In a few minutes, John Briggs stepped back from his tree. It creaked and began to sway. A moment more, and it came rushing down. Branches swiped the trees nearby. Then all was silent. Luke stepped in immediately and began to trim off the branches with his axe. Matthew stood on a stump and stretched his leg up and out. He slid onto Dolly's back and sat there. Luke cut off most of the branches, and his father finished the big ones. It was getting dark in the woods. John Briggs came for the horses. Matthew got down. His father picked up the lines and clicked to the team. He brought them around to the base of the fallen tree. Then he rolled the tree onto a chain and hooked the chain closed. He backed the team up and dropped the hook of the double tree into a hook on the chain. "Get up there," he said. The horses moved forward together, the log easily behind them. Matthew walked beside his father out of the woods. In the field, it was still rather bright. Ben and Dolly walked along. They didn't seem to labor much to pull the log. John Briggs whistled lightly. "Papa," said Matthew, "how will you work with only one horse?" John Briggs tipped up his hat to look at his son. From under the brim of his hat, "Slower," he said.